Hello everyone. English Teachers Welfare Association Jalgaon, a registered organization for the continuous professional development of the teacher, presented for you Untold Fact, the lecture series. Today is the ninth part, and today's speaker is Mr. Shailender Wasker, Assistant Teacher, Kenarkhede Vidyalaya, Bhusawal, and the chief guest for today's program is Mr. Ranjit Ji Deshmukh, Chess Project Chief Coordinator, Maharashtra State. Good evening, my dear friends. Today's chief guest, respected Mr. Ranjit Ji Deshmukh, President of it was respected Bharat Shirsat, and all the administrative authorities of it was, all the active listeners of Jalgaon district, my dear friend, it is an immense pleasure for me to present my views in the Untold Fact lecture series. Today I am going to talk about Oh Captain, my Captain, and the untold facts about Walt Whitman. My friend, do what you think best, but be the best in what you do. I myself believe in this. This is my short introduction. Let us see something about this great poet Walt Whitman, who is called the masterpiece of American literature. My dear friend, Walt Whitman is born on 31st May 1819 at West Hills in New York. It is my great luck and fortune that this year is the 201st anniversary of Walt Whitman. Dear friend, the family was living in too much uneconomical condition. So, at the age of 2, Whitman has to move with his family to Brooklyn. His childhood was very restless and unhappy. In his family, along with father, mother, there were 9 children, and Walt was the second one of the 9. At the age of 11, Whitman has to leave his formal school education and he started working as a clerk, teacher, journalist, and volunteer in the hospital. How he reached to the hospital, as his brother was enlisted in the army and during the war he was badly wounded. His economical condition was very poor and the whole family has to work very hard to earn their daily bread. Finally, he was plagued by the health problem and he moved to Cameron, where he died on March 26, 1892. Such is the greatness of this man, who was known as a great American poet, essayist, and journalist. Let us see the poetic background. It is rightly said that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling recollected in tranquility by William Wordsworth. From writing articles for the newspaper, Walt Whitman turned his focus on writing poetry. And 1850 to 1860 was the period when Whitman established himself as a great poet with the publication of Leaves of Grass. Leaves of Grass, written by him, is a masterpiece of American literature. Ralph Waldo inspired him for his writing. When the Civil War began, Walt Whitman with his family has to move from New York to Washington. There he worked in the government offices such as the Bureau of Indian Affairs and Army Hospital. During this period, he experienced brutality of war, death, patriotism, which influenced him to write something. Whitman's poetry was revolutionary in both subject and style, so he is known as America's good grey poet. Let us see the glimpse of pictorial wall, in which we can see some of the pictures, just as his birthplace, picture of Walt Whitman, and the picture of some of his publications. You can also see a Captain, my Captain, written by himself, which is called the manuscript on which there is an autograph of this great poet Walt Whitman. Let us see how Walt Whitman and Abraham Lincoln came into contact with each other. Walt Whitman came to know about Abraham in the beginning of Civil War. Then he was working as a journalist. He also witnessed the inauguration of the public library done by the president. Walt Whitman, impressed by the social work, his love for country and patriotism, though they never met directly, but he was strongly influenced by his thoughts. They both had the same thinking and same view about slavery. They were inspired by Thomas Paine, Robert Burns, William Shakespeare, and the thinking in Bible. So, Walt Whitman always used to say, "We are afloat in the same stream and we are rooted in the same ground." Lincoln's death in 1865 moved him deeply. So, he expressed his tribute for the great president by composing four poems such as "When the lilac last in the Doodad bloom, hush to the camps today, O Captain, my Captain." This thus, looking at their contribution, Walt Whitman was called as the architect of uniquely American poetic device in the history of American literature, and Abraham Lincoln was considered as the architect of United States of America. Let us see some of the features of the present poem. "O Captain, my Captain" is published in 1865. Subject of the poem: President Abraham Lincoln's popularity as a president, his great deeds for the country, American Civil War, and the poet's verbal tribute and condolence for the great president. Form of the poem: just as elegy, ode, extended metaphor, and allegory. The tone of the poem is melancholic. The structure of the poem: it has a rhyming structure. Rhyming scheme of the poem is AABB. There are three stanzas. There are different types of literary devices used by the poet. They are internal rhyme, apostrophe, anaphora, alliteration. The poet has used different types of metaphor, such as United States as a ship, Lincoln as a captain, dream of free independent country which he saw before his assassination. Prize is considered America's freedom from the custom of slavery. Fearful trip is the symbol of American Civil War, and the port symbolizes as a safety platform. This poem is also an allegorical one. It is the juxtaposition of public celebration and private grief. It is the tension between outcomes of emotion, happiness, and inward grief of loss. It depicts the most notorious political assassination. This poem is also an irony in which the victor is unable to celebrate the victory. That is the real irony of Abraham Lincoln expressed through this poem. At last we can see how great poet he was by express some of the great personalities. Walt Whitman's Captain, O My Captain, it was also picturized one film whose name was Dead Poets Society. Then was Atlantic has expressed about him that "O my Captain" was universally accepted as Whitman's great contribution to the world's literature. George Carpenter said, "It is the most direct and spontaneous translation of the emotions of the people into the beautiful imagery." Boston Commonwealth said, "This poem will do much to remove the prejudice against Mr. Whitman in all the minds." Such was the great poet Walt Whitman was in the history of American literature. My dear friends, thank you very much for listening me very silently, actively, and giving me good response. At last, with your company, with your presence, I would like also to express my verbal tribute to this great poet, Walt Whitman, and the unique president of America, Mr. Abraham Lincoln. Thank you very much. I stop here and take your leave. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. Thank you, it was for giving me this great opportunity to express my view in the Untold Fact lecture series. Thank you, respected Bharatji Shitsat sir, for your support. Athole Dada, for your technical support. I am very thankful to you. Thank you, respected Pandre sir, Bacha sir, for your great support to me always. Very nice anchoring by Mohan Chauhan sir, and I am very thankful to all the member of It Was family for their support to me. Thank you.